Hi, Shangrila. How are you?
I'm doing awesome, Andrew. How are you?
Great. Thank you. Very well. Thanks a lot. Thanks for taking time to talk to me today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So, what's your story, Shangri-La? It's a quite a story, I think. Let's hear it.
Well, I actually came from I mentioned to you previously, so I came from being an underdog, not knowing how to swim, and not knowing anything about triathlon. But then now, I've fast forward, I actually made a Guinness World Record in 2015 as the fastest female to complete 5 Ironman in 5 consecutive days. And just last month, I actually did my second world record, which is the most Ironman distance completed in 34 days. I did complete 23 Ironman distance in 34 days. So that's actually just October 30th to December 2nd, which includes, I'm going to give you a math here, 55-mile swim and then 2,500-mile bike. And of course, there's the back-to-back marathon, which is about 600-mile run total. So that
Amazing.
was December 2nd. That's
So
the
that's
title.
thousand kilometers of running. Um, yeah. How many? Yeah. So how many was it?
2,500-mile bike. I'm not sure how to calculate that in kilometers, just too much.
It's crazy. I mean, most people struggle to do one a year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how does that even work out? I mean, where did
Well,
you come from? I mean, what is this contrast? Because it sounds like
sure.
you've gone from some extremes here. You know, you say
Yeah,
you're an
definitely.
underdog.
Well, actually, there was a race that I registered last year, but it got canceled because of COVID.
Okay.
Now, what I wanted to move forward is because I've been training hard. Besides that, actually, I wanted to see the result, but at the same time, I created this project, which is I call Beyond Myself Project, so to also raise funds for charity. So that's why I did what I did last year, and the charity actually is to raise funds for to support women, PTSD, and abused children and underprivileged children. So that's the intention. And plus, what I wanted to really do that project last year is because it's what we need the most, like a
Okay.
lot because of the COVID-19, and that's my intention.
Okay. So, I mean, what is your background? I mean, you say you're an underdog and you came from a
Oh,
difficult background, I
true, true.
suppose.
Yeah, yeah. So actually, it was only 10 years ago I didn't know how to swim. 10 years ago, I actually have not completed any triathlon at all. Like I was
Right.
scared of open water, and I just basically didn't want to gain weight, and that's why I started running.
Okay.
And now there's people's like cycling. Oh, I want to be a triathlete. It sounded cool, but I don't know how to swim. And that was 10 years ago. So I was doing that at the same time, doing my master's degree, my engineering. So I was just very busy. What people didn't know was that although on the outside, I was an engineer, I was like this wannabe triathlete, stronger athlete. But what people didn't know is my struggles in the past. I was abused as a kid. I was diagnosed with PTSD at 24 years old. I had suicidal ideation. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I had eating disorder history as well. So there's a lot of different things on the back end that people didn't know. And what I wanted to do in 2015 is that I wanted to dream something so big
Hmm.
that people would be curious of how I was back then.
Okay.
And I didn't plan the Guinness World Record. So now when people read about my bio, how did she do it? How did she do it, this Guinness World Record? And at least my intention was that people would be curious of how my past was, and then they would realize, oh my God, this female underdog didn't know how to swim, scared of the open water, didn't own a bike, and actually had PTSD, abused as a kid, and then now a Guinness World Record.
Right.
If she was able to do it, maybe I can too.
Right.
So that was back in 2015. I'm like, you know what? I'm just starting. I wanted to do more. And I kept doing, just dreaming big, scary goals.
Yep.
and just kept going at it. And I have not stopped, and actually left engineering. I left engineering to actually pursue this, just focus, give my everything to the sports, which is triathlon, endurance sports. So now I'm actually also coaching and motivating people. Also, I actually just published the book, which is actually just right here, where
Amazing.
I tell, it was published last year. And my intention also is because I wanted to share, like, how did I do it? It's a $1 million story. It's a best-selling Amazon book last year. And my intention is actually to share, how did I do it? How did I become from underdog or average athlete, not knowing what I was doing then, and then now Guinness World Record and actually coaching athletes around the world.
Incredible.
Sorry, that's a long story.
It's a great story. So what are some of your other major, like, physical achievements that you've done? Some of the great things you've done, and you've done a lot.
Yeah, I've done a lot, and at the same time, I've failed a lot too. So my intention is that to dream big and then be open to actually with the experience and learn from my experience. One of the accomplishment that I've done, I consider accomplishment, was actually when I was one of the first 2 females who raced solo in Red Bull Trans Siberian Extreme. That was 2017.
Right.
Besides the Guinness World Record on 2015, I also did the most, at the time it was 2016, I completed 8 Ironman in 8 consecutive days. I participated, I finished. Yeah.
That's insane. I mean, people
That was
might not, I'm sorry to interrupt, but people might not understand what that means. I don't think most people, most of our viewers do, because they've done this. They've done 1 Ironman in a few months, or in 1 a year or 2 a year, maybe 3 a year. Yeah, maybe. So, but 8 in 8 days just doesn't.
Yeah, I was saying it so casual, but it was hard. It took a lot of training. Of course, that was 2016. The most that I've done consecutive is 10 days consecutive, which was just last year, and then 23 the most in 34 days. Basically, it's a 2.4-mile swim, 112-mile bike, and a full marathon. You eat, you do your sports, you finish as soon as possible so you can get as much sleep as you can get, so you can get up again next day, show up to the race, do it again. Same thing all over again. So I did that, several of those. So my expertise is actually multi-day, being able to recover fast and stay injury-free, and being able to execute training without holding my other lives, my other commitments on hold. So those are the main things.
So what do you do how do you recover so quickly? I mean, do you have anything you do?
Oh, yes, of course. Well, definitely it varies in different athletes. So to me, I'm going to speak for myself, is that sleep is very important. So I make sure that I sleep enough for me to be able to recover fast. I do wake up early in the morning, but at the same time, I will have to adjust the sleeping time.
Yep.
Yeah, so that have nutrition, adequate nutrition, the right nutrition. I don't really follow a diet. I'm more of like what I call it as a nutritarian, meaning that I eat the one that's I really need the most right now. And it depends also on timing. The main thing also with recovery, main thing is to put one stressor at a time, meaning that I don't put too much, too fast, too soon, without, it has to be gradual. We have to respect our body. A lot of athletes actually just train hard without respecting the rest. There you go.
But people take gradual builds up to doing one Ironman, not 8. Yep. So how do you do gradual up to 8?
So to adjust intensity.
Right.
So in terms of the training wise, I kind of still training, but during the training is that I do a lot of it zone 2 in the beginning. I will slip in some hard training, but for me to actually, the main goal is to be consistent. Yeah. But if I was training like always high intensity, I would break down. So definitely you know, just the right amount of intensity. So I had to do that. And then also the other thing that I mentioned in this book here is what I call body maintenance. So body maintenance is something that some athletes don't really pay attention. Body maintenance include basically, you know, finding your trigger points, your range of motions, mobility, the massage, all those things that actually you need. So what I do is like really, really hard training, but at the same time, I take care of myself, which is I use lacrosse ball, find the trigger points. Like, for example, if I'm like, let's say I'm driving along to my training ground, you'd most likely hear from me. Yes, I'm sitting on my lacrosse ball trying to find the trigger points on my glutes or on my. So I multitask. I treat it like there you go. Yes, I treat it like I'm brushing my teeth. It's part of it.
Yeah.
And when we get busy, it's like we forget it. But
you build it into your routine, but you're focused on it.
Yeah.
Amazing. So what's next for you, Shangrila? What do you think? Or will that only come out when it happens?
I am debating on one thing, which is a big thing. I have not fully committed to it yet, but I'm looking at it, and I'm definitely make sure you hear about it, but it's a big thing. Well,
when it's done or when it's happening, let me know, and I'll be sure to let everyone else know.
Yes. The thing about it is that when I say yes, I give my 100%. I get so obsessed that I'm like, okay, let me just sit on it, see if I really feel good about it, and I'll let you know. But right now we're actually doing a documentary film. So the project that we did, wherein I made a world record, and at the same time my life story, we're working on it, and it will be released this year. So that's one of the projects that I do have. But definitely right now is helping other athletes, you know, coaching athletes to really get their goals. Because I remember how I was back then when I was like, can I actually do it? Like, I don't know what the other side. And I'm like on the other side, I'm like, yes, you can do it. Yes. It's scary.
But you know, it seems impossible. I mean, I told myself after I did a few half Ironmans, I told myself, I'm not capable of doing a full Ironman. It can't happen. There's no possible way. And that was just ridiculously stupid thinking. But it was emotional thinking, but it was probably common. But then I realized it's just, you know, these things, you know, it's always possible. But the beginner athlete might not have that, you know, that wisdom, or I mean, you've been there, you've seen it, so you could probably guide them well.
Yeah, it is scary. And especially for me, for example, like I didn't know how to swim before. You know, I'd be like in the Ironman, my first Ironman, I'd see at the back, I see all those guys like there are sharks that are about to get me. I'm like, just pass through. I'm okay to be the last person, but that's how I was. I was like so scared, and it took a while. It's a lot. So yeah, I totally understand where the novices are coming from, but I want to say, like, just stay there.
Right. But as a coach, you're the right person to do that because you've seen it, you've been there. What kind of people do you coach? Mostly in the U.S.?
US and also outside US. It depends because of all the achievements, the races that I've gone through. There's like Switzerland, Mexico, Russia. So I've actually been connected with a lot of other athletes, especially athletes, not just the Ironman are getting faster, but also Ironman and beyond, like the epic or unknown stuff that it actually exists.
Because you're a bit more than the full Ironman level. Extreme. I mean, you seem to go a bit further out there, right?
I kind of test it. Yeah, I'm like, okay, maybe we can do it, but no one's doing it. Well, you know what? Maybe I can try to do it. So I guess it's kind of like a curse in a way because I put myself out there, but that's what attracts me. It's kind of like exciting and scary at the same time.
Well, that's the thing that I noticed. Once you get going, there's a big catch. You can achieve a lot, but the catch is you can't ever quit.
Yeah, exactly. You know, in 2015, I told myself when I made the Guinness World Record, I did not plan for it. And actually that year, which is 2015, what I told myself, you know what? I'm going to hire coaches. I'll have registered dietitians. I'm going to do my best. And after this year, I'm done. I'm going to retire. But then I made the world record. And then I'm like, oh, shit. I guess I'm just starting.
You can't retire after doing a world record. Come on.
What? I didn't plan for it. But yeah, so
Right.
I just realized, like, oh, I guess I'm just starting. So, yeah.
You're just starting. And you are. And we all are. So we all have long lives ahead of us.
There's always learning process. That's why I'm so interested with all the interviews that you're conducting, because I learn a lot from, like, what else is out there that I didn't know, or like what else is the trick or the hacks that I can actually know to get faster to, like there is loopholes. There are loopholes, and I love that.
Yeah, there's some things. Do you have any that you do? I mean, nothing replaces the training, but is there anything that you can think of that makes your life easier?
Sure. I actually kind of put down some notes because I know.
Sorry, I thought I was talking to her.
No problem. Technology.
Sorry, I missed that last part. My phone interrupted.
Sure. No worries. No worries. Well, for me, I told you I prepared some things that, the main things for me. Definitely, I mentioned earlier, the body maintenance. You work hard. We got to make sure that we partner up with taking care of ourselves, and we need to respect when our body says, I need rest. Sometimes, for myself, sometimes I'd be like low motivated. And the thing about high achiever like myself, I'm beating myself up. But the thing about it is not just motivation. It's possible that I'm just physically need rest, and I need to respect that. But there's the borderline that I think overachiever would like, okay, or not just overachiever, just basically athletes. Hey, we need to listen to our body. So that's one. It sounds so basic, but it's very important. The next thing is definitely nutrition. Nutrition is a big thing for Ironman. I struggled big time in nutrition. And the thing about it is that whatever the nutrition that works for your friend may or may not work for you. And what we need to do is actually, besides with the nutrition, we need to know the amount, the type, the timing. And then once we know that, it's very important, we need to make sure that we train at almost very close intensity that we would at the race.
Right.
Because a lot of athletes like, oh, I followed what you told me. How come I'm still cramping? How come I'm having GI issue? Well, maybe you are not being mindful during the race simulation or during the training, and then now your digestive system is reacting because you didn't know how to react. So that's very important. Next thing is that if someone was actually wanting to have a faster time in Ironman, all those breaks add up. So, because if on my 23 Ironman in 34 days, I started with the first Ironman, I started with just being conservative, 17 hours.
Yeah.
But you'd think that I would be going slower with additional distance, but guess what? My moving time was sub 13. 9 of the last full Ironman, it was sub 14, sub 13. And to me, that was I was like, whoa.
How are you speeding up?
Yeah, because of the recovery. My team and I, we became more strategic. We learned more of the tricks. You know what? We need to have a cutoff time. My transition, it needs to be just, really tight.
Don't sit there for 20 minutes just because you have 17 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Or for example, with the bike, I wasn't really stopping. I was just sip, okay, let's go. Sip, go. Sip, go. And that's it. And, honestly, with those back-to-back, I was only having 5 minutes break just for the lunch. My 5 minutes lunch and restroom, that's it. I was timing every break time. And I was able to reduce it. So that, and then definitely the nutrition plays a big role. We don't think about nutrition only at the end of the run. The bike plays a big role.
Yeah.
Definitely, because it carries out. Another thing that's very, very important is that, definitely for me, I've experienced this one in my recent world record, is that, sure, I train so much. Yes, I have a lot of experience in ultra endurance. I have a great team. But the thing about it that really makes a big difference is my why. Okay. And whether I'm still happy of what I'm doing. Because I had a breakdown where I'm, you know what? I know I can push myself. Mm-hmm. But am I happy? Mm-hmm. And I'm I don't really want to do it just because for achievement. There's really nothing for me to prove. But I just really want to have an experience. And what changed that after that, I did a 10 Ironman in 10 consecutive days. I said, you know what? On the next days, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be so present. I'm going to be so thankful that I'm doing what I love to do. And I'm going to be so thankful of every person who shows up because they put their time to just volunteer. And then just really that sense of gratitude, and also just reminding me of why I was doing it, because it was just so hard. Like, I know I trained for it, but it was like the combination of the physical, the mind, of course, that's given, but it's the heart, the happiness. And
Right.
those two things were important to me. And that actually got me through in every single day without feeling like I was forced, but it was more of like actually being present and feeling gratitude. And
So
I
you had
know,
that internal core reason that's driving you, and you
yes,
you could identify it and use that as your own motivation,
yeah,
not
yeah,
some pressure or some other reasons, but you had to find that why.
yeah, yeah. Or, just it's not about just proving yourself. It's about doing what is it that gives me? What is it that gives my family or the other people who's actually following me?
Right.
And it's just, and then they were like surprised, like, why are you so happy? Why are you smiling? You've been racing and I'm just like right here working, like, because I feel good. I'm actually, it's amazing. Like 10 years ago, I didn't know how to swim. I mean, I didn't even own a bike. And then now I'm inspiring people around the world. It's insane. And I'm doing my dream, which is actually to help the individuals with PTSD, those who are abused. I'm like, that was my main reason why I wanted to dream big. So, yeah, so those are the hacks. I don't know if it's a hack, but I know it sounds so basic, but if those little words actually help, I would be so happy that people would actually use them.
Amazing, Shangri-La. I'll let people know, and thank you very much. I think we're about out of time, but I really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.